Joining me now is Democratic strategist Steve McMahon and Republican strategist Todd Harris. Gentlemen, I'm looking for sharp insight in this new year. The standard has risen now. I want acute understanding of what's coming here. First of all, let's get the bowling shirts on right now. I know, Steve, you're for the president, and I want to find Todd. Are you now with Romney? Is this something we can say on the air? Or where are you with Romney?
No, I haven't. I'm not working for any candidate. I will say I think Mitt Romney's got the best chance of all the Republicans to beat President Obama, but I'm not working for him.
Okay, well, that said, let's take a look at the head-to-head matchups with the top tier of Republican candidates. President Obama up against President Obama, tied with Mitt Romney. Basically, the president beats Newt Gingrich rather handily by 9 points. He beats Ron Paul by 8. That's unbelievable, by 8 points. There hasn't been enough polling on President Obama and Rick Santorum head-to-head. So given all that, including the shocking fact Todd, that Ron Paul's within 8 points of President Obama, which is an amazing, revolting development, as we used to say. What do you make of that right now? Does that tell you really that Romney is the strongest in your side?
That's something I don't think most people need a poll to come to that conclusion. What it tells me is a couple things. Number one, this is going to be an extraordinarily close race. Ron Paul has a fervent base of support, but the fact is a good chunk of his beliefs are outside the mainstream of the average American voter, and the fact that he is within 8 points shows you how truly polarized this electorate's going to be. It's going to be a close race, and it's probably going to be a nasty one.
You know, that's amazing, Steve, the fact that Ron Paul, a man who clearly is outside the mainstream, not that he's wrong, but he's outside the mainstream, is at least on this poll doing as well as Bob Dole did running against Bill Clinton back in '96, 41 points. How do you explain the fact that there's an automatically strong 40-plus vote percentage for any of the serious Republican challengers?
Well, I think Todd's right. This is a very polarized electorate, even right now, 11 or 12 months away from the actual election. And what you're going to see is a very, very divisive kind of race. The president is shoring up his base. You saw that in the appointment of Corduroy today. And I think the Republicans are sorting this thing out. But the 41% that you're looking at for Ron Paul is just the number of people who will vote against President Obama, regardless of who the nominee is. I think Ron Paul shows you what the base or the floor for a Republican candidate is, and frankly right now Mitt Romney shows you what the ceiling is. This is going to be fought right in that 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 point range. The good news for the White House is they got a lot of ways to get there.
Wait a minute, I just think I disagree with you. You think that's right, Todd, that the floor is down at 41 and the ceiling is 45? I'd say the floor is around 45, but your thoughts
I'm sorry, Chris.
on who the eventual nominee that faces President Obama, will he or she start with 45? Is there any way they could get less?
No, I think that's where they start. I'm sure Steve would love for the ceiling to be 45, but it's not going to be. Someone is going to win this race with 51% of the vote.
No, I agree with that. I'm sorry. What I meant was right now you see Mitt Romney not pulling ahead of the president. You don't see any Republican pulling ahead of the president. There's a 41 floor for the Republican Party. If Ron Paul were the nominee, he might get 41, probably would, but he wouldn't get 45. He certainly wouldn't get 48, and he definitely wouldn't get 50. The same is true for a number of the other candidates that have been paraded out by the Republicans this year.
You know, I get the sense, Todd, that the guy who probably will be your nominee, and looks like Romney down the road will earn it, although he hasn't earned it yet, is willing to do anything to win. The campaign he ran in Iowa was ferocious. It was effective. It destroyed his opponent and maybe knocked him out of the game altogether. He did it with super PAC money. He never put his signature on it. Is that the look of the coming war? Was that like the Spanish Civil War, giving us a preview of World War II, of the kind of, I'm serious, the kind of battle it's going to be on both sides? Vicious, negative attacks launched by separate, supposedly independent super PACs.
I think it's going to look more like World War III, and this is going to be the broadcast TV equivalent of global thermal nuclear war. The only difference in 2012 is that neither of the actual campaigns are going to be the ones with their fingers on the button. Both sides are going to have hundreds of millions of dollars to spend on negative TV. The Obama campaign, the first campaign ever to break the billion-dollar mark.
And highly negative and highly pretending to be independent. The same question to you quickly, Steve. I noticed that David Axelrod did not rule out running a very negative campaign against whoever the Republican is.
It's going to be a very negative campaign, and Mitt Romney is going to have to explain his record and and it's going to be a negative campaign. It's going to be a negative campaign on both sides. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody.
Yeah, there's just no path for the White House to get reelected without going scorched earth, because they've got to turn this campaign into a referendum on their opponent. Mitt Romney, or whoever our nominee is going to make this a referendum on the last 4 years and the economy. The White House is going to try to do the exact opposite.
Well, they need to make it a choice. No, if it's a referendum, the president running against himself,
that's right. They'll make it a choice.
He's going to make it into a choice, and he's going to make it also into an education process about Mitt Romney's record and the fact that he's been just about everywhere on just about every issue. And you cannot count on this person to represent your values, to fight for you. And that will become clear, as it did in Massachusetts when Mitt Romney ran against Ted Kennedy.
Steve, you said it in a nice way what it's going to be, a campaign of what we call comparison ads after comparison ads, and some of them won't even be comparisons. They'll just be outright negative, and they will not benefit from the "I am Barack Obama and I paid for this" ad. You won't hear that on the negatives. You won't hear it from Romney because you didn't hear it in Iowa. Steve McMahon, thank you. Thank you, Todd Harris.